You probably didn't know that The Amazing Digital Circus took over a year and a half just to make its first episode. With all that time, I've managed to find all the clips of The Amazing Digital Circus's behind-the-scenes videos, and even some deleted scenes and hidden Easter eggs that we can scrape off the footage. The show started in mid-2022 in pre-production, to where it was finally finished in late 2023. First, taking a look at the behind-the-scenes animations, if we look at some of these scenes with Jax, Kaufmo, and Gangle, you can see on the bottom the finished version, but on the top, you can actually see what it was like to animate them before adding in all the cool effects. For example, you can see the characters are colored in, but everything else is literally just gray. But you can see the slide that they go down is also colored in, so they make sure to get the important parts done first, and then they add in all the detail. Just like how they added in the outline of the Radical Cane sign by the slide, and then in the final version, they actually put all the lighting and make it look neon. But if you also look at some of the characters throughout these scenes, they just look a little bit off, and this is because they're not fully rendering these scenes out when they actually needed to get the final scenes for the final cut of the episode, which is what we watch on YouTube. They fully render everything out in the highest detail, but when they're just going over animations and seeing if they need any tweaking, they will put it in the lowest graphic settings possible, where you can see each character looks a little bit off. Every character's colors don't make sense. The lighting, Ragatha's hair just doesn't make sense at all. If you look at it compared to the actual version, it's just a lot less lifelike, which was probably done later with lighting. And if you look at Ragatha's dress, it's literally blue in the clip, which goes to show that they had to do a lot of details afterwards. And speaking of details, look at Zub's torso. They literally didn't even put the shapes on her torso until after. But the funniest out of all of them is Kaufmo's abstracted form. What on planet Earth is this thing? Obviously you can see in the finished version Kaufmo does look cool. He's abstracted and all this thing is glitching, but when they have to actually animate him at first, he's literally just a giant ice cream blob with chip mints and sprinkles all over him. I literally can't describe what this is. It just looks weird. Another part of the Amazing Digital Circus's production are the walking cycles. In order for the animators to save time, they add what's called cycles, where they'll have an animation that can loop and yet still look fluid and realistic. For example, Gangle had a running animation which didn't look too hard. Kinger was insanely easy to make, according to one of the animators, where they literally just sway his hips side to side and move his hands up and down. But if you look at Zub's walking animation, Kevin Tamer, one of the animators, said specifically that hers was one of the hardest because every few steps she stumbles. This is because each part of her body is mixed and matched, so she's not used to them all the time as she changes her parts nearly every single day. So, with every step she stumbles as she's still not used to her body, and that's just a little detail that you wouldn't know if you didn't watch the behind-the-scenes videos. But a lot of these animations went unused. There were 3 of Pomni's running animations that looked pretty cool, but were just straight up not used and thrown out. It's possible that these were meant for the running away from Kaufmo scene after Kaufmo had abstracted, but if you look at that, they did a much better job with the fluidity of her running back and forth side to side and jumping all over the place, with Kaufmo doing the same. If they had just kept the same running animation cycle, it wouldn't look good. But if you look at this scene here, where they show the running animations for Kaufmo, you can see the same low-res blob running over and over in its cycle. But the thing is, they wrote this file down as abstracted Kaufmo and not abstracted monster. Because if they wrote down abstracted monster, then this means they could use this same cycle for abstractions in the future, but they didn't. They specifically said this is just for Kaufmo, which means that other characters could abstract into different forms. We know that Kaufmo looked kind of like a horse, so what if the next one looks kind of like a bird? Who knows? We also got to see a lot of their testing animations, where they had one of Pomni about to throw up, which is the scene right after Kane showed her around the circus, and after too much teleportation, she did what she did. And this was to test both the animation as well as the jiggle of the characters. Yes, I promise you, the jiggle. If you look at this next test, they literally move her head around, decapitate her, and plop it right back on her. They're trying to test the physics of the Amazing Digital Circus characters, which means, could each character be really stretchy and bouncy and almost invincible? Maybe, but I think this is just testing. But why would they test this? It raises some questions. But here's the thing. We have a deleted scene from when Regatha and Pomni first saw Kaufmo. When they open the door and they all three see that Kaufmo abstracted, Jax immediately runs away, and Ragatha is there to explain what Kaufmo is to Pomni. But during that time, it's supposed to be a very intense and scary scene, since they're seeing an abstraction that could literally kill them. However, some of the animators animated Ragatha to be a little bit too cartoony with her hand movements. So, you can compare these two versions here and see that Gooseworx actually wanted it to be a bit more serious in tone, as abstractions are apparently a very serious thing in the circus. But the best part about seeing behind the scenes are the so-called cursed development images. These images were posted all over Twitter as well. When the animators and Gooseworx were making the show, they decided to just go crazy and make some funny animations with the character rigs. So, for example, we can see Pomni making some pretty crazy faces, but we also see that she has straight-up pointy shark-like teeth. Now, this could be real, and her teeth are actually like that in certain animations, or this could be a cursed image that they made for fun and not actually just moving the character around. As well, we can see a photo of Jax's face fusing into his teeth, which literally proves that his entire head underneath the purple is a yellow ball. A yellow ball with 2 black squares for eyes and some black lines for teeth. He's literally a yellow ball. But this one, I don't even know what to say about this one. Like, what happened here, bro? What were the animators thinking? They straight up put Jax with his mouth looking like a Dyson vacuum cleaner, with tiny sharp teeth and 2 tiny black squares for eyes. At this point, the animators were just like, all right, how far can we stretch it without breaking the software? Another cursed scene is after Pomni loses Kaufmo and decides to go back for Ragatha, since she literally left her for dead. You can see that Pomni is going towards Ragatha, but not even walking, rather just creative moding towards her. Her arms aren't even moving, her hands kind of do, but what is happening with her legs? This is probably an early part of their animation, but it's kind of weird to see why they would animate like this, unless they were just doing it for fun. But that's a lot of work for fun. But something you didn't know is that there was actually a deleted intro to the show. They literally redid the entire intro scene with a different song and decided to pick between the two, one of which was obviously the version that we have today. But the other was this version, and before I play it, don't worry, the vocals would have been the same as the current version that we have today. It's just that they didn't go with this version, so they didn't put in all the editing.
Let's get right into the show!
As Kangaroo and Zubo and King and Two, Ragatha and Jax, and then there's Kaufmo. Many wonders can be found, send you spinning round and round until you fly to the moon and then the sun, and we don't know why. La, 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 la. You won't believe your eyes, prepare for a surprise. Don't touch that door, there's so much more. You don't know what's in store. Watch out for
I don't know about you guys, but the beginning of that intro was pretty cool. However, when they started going la 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 la, I felt relieved they chose the final intro version. That alternative intro could have probably ruined the show. I can imagine myself clicking away from the video the first time I watched the episode if I heard that version. One significant part of the current song, compared to the unused one, is the glitchy repetition of day after day after day, which foreshadows that they are trapped in a time-looped prison. The old unused version just suggested, oh, this is a circus, a fun place, rather than hinting at the darker lore behind it, which is a big reason fans love the show. What's peculiar about the old song is Kane telling Pomni not to touch the door, referencing the exit door he claimed to have made, revealed later in the episode. Why would he want Pomni not to touch the door if he said he made it for them to go through? This is very intriguing as it suggests the exit door is real, and that the void could be the exit. However, this will never be confirmed as canon. Yet, there is a very high chance it is true, since there is no reason to include those lyrics without that intention. The last topic I want to discuss is the demos for The Amazing Digital Circus, which many of you might not have seen. While the pilot episode has 200 million views, these demos only have a few million. We have the Meet the Cast version, where we are introduced to every character without them speaking any words. Instead, they communicate like Sims characters and perform funny actions. This demo was the animators' way of getting used to the characters' full rigs, explaining why the animation looks slightly off, not fully detailed, and a bit unrefined. They eventually perfected it for the pilot episode, making the initial demo a valuable exercise. Additionally, in a teaser on Gooseworx channel, Kane gave us a tour of the digital circus months before its release. He showed us the main rooms, the dorm hall, what looks like an old 90s video game coding room, the cellar, and the dorm hall again. At one point, he couldn't change the scene quickly because Kaufmo's foot was sticking out, implying Kaufmo could have escaped but chose not to. It then cuts to Kane and Pomni, where Kane starts throwing knives at Pomni. After the cut, we see Pomni with knives inside her, indicating Kane's poor aim, yet they didn't feel any pain because Kane can control what happens in the amazing digital circus. If there are any other deleted scenes or details I missed, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and check out this video here.